They always leave eventually. That is what you have come to expect. Not because you are unlucky, not because you have a pattern of choosing the wrong people, though everyone around you seems convinced that is the explanation. They leave because you make sure of it. Someone gets close and something in you, something older than your ability to name it, reaches for the exit before they can find it first. You pull back, you go quiet, you create distance out of nothing, out of a perfectly good moment, out of something that was actually working. And then you watch them go with a feeling that is one part relief and one part of grief you will never fully admit out loud. And the worst part is not that it keeps happening. The worst part is that you did it again, on purpose, without being able to stop yourself. And you still do not completely understand why. So where does this come from? Because it did not start with the last person you pushed away. It did not start with the relationship before that either. Think further back. There was a point, early enough that you may not remember it clearly, when closeness and loss arrived together so many times that your nervous system stopped treating them as separate events. Someone mattered and then they were gone, or they changed, or the closeness itself became the thing that hurt you. And your brain, which is nothing if not an efficient pattern recognition machine, drew the conclusion that made the most logical sense given the available evidence. If closeness leads to pain, create distance before the pain arrives. It is not self-sabotage. It is prevention, and it worked in the specific narrow way that survival strategies work, until it became the thing that is quietly costing you everything. Psychologists call this an anxious avoidant attachment pattern, and the research on how it develops is both precise and difficult to sit with. Studies by attachment theorist John Bowlby and later Mary Ainsworth found that children who experienced inconsistent caregiving, closeness that was sometimes warm and sometimes withdrawn, sometimes safe and sometimes the source of the wound, developed a specific internal working model of relationships. That model says people are both necessary and dangerous, that love and loss are a package deal, that the only way to manage the pain of potential abandonment is to initiate the separation yourself on your own terms before theirs. That model does not update itself automatically when you become an adult. It runs in the background of every relationship you enter, flagging intimacy as threat, reading safety as naivety, interpreting someone's genuine care as something to be tested until it breaks. But here is where it gets complicated, because pushing people away is not a single behavior, and the distinction is one most people never make. There is the push that comes from knowing someone is wrong for you, the clean, clear, boundaried withdrawal from a dynamic that was genuinely costing you. That is not self-sabotage. That is self-awareness. And then there is the other kind, the push that happens with people who are good, who are steady, who have given you no actual reason to run. The ones you push hardest and fastest precisely because they are the ones who could actually stay. Because real availability is more threatening than unavailability ever was. A person who might leave you in the future is a familiar risk. A person who might actually love you consistently is a risk your nervous system has no map for. So it manufactures a reason to go, or it behaves in ways that create one. Here is what that costs you, and it is worth saying plainly. Research on adult attachment and long-term well-being consistently finds that the quality of close relationships is one of the strongest predictors of mental and physical health over a lifetime. Not the quantity, the quality. The presence of even one or two genuinely secure, consistent connections is protective against depression, against anxiety, against the specific kind of hollowness that accumulates when you have spent years being surrounded by people, but genuinely known by none of them. You have probably felt that hollowness, the one that arrives after you have successfully pushed someone away. After the relief fades and what is left is the quiet, familiar, completely private ache of having done it again. That ache is data. It is your nervous system telling you something that your self-protective instincts keep overriding, that you did not actually want them to go, that you wanted them to stay and not know how to ask for it without it costing you everything. There is a specific cruelty in this that belongs only to people wired this way. You want connection more than most. The hunger for it is real and deep and has been there your entire life. But the mechanism designed to protect you from losing it keeps destroying it before it can arrive. You are not indifferent to people. You are terrified of them, terrified of needing them, terrified of what it would mean to let someone in completely and then have them leave anyway, which some part of you is always certain they eventually will. So you perform the ending yourself. You write them out before the story can surprise you. That is not coldness. That is the most exhausting kind of self-protection there is. And here is what nobody says to people like you, which is the thing you most need to hear. The fact that you keep trying, that you let people in even partially, even briefly, even knowing how it tends to end, that is not failure. That is extraordinary. Every time you let someone close enough to push away, you were trying again. Imperfectly, self-defeatingly, with all your armor still on, but trying. That impulse toward connection, even when your every instinct is screaming to run from it, that is the part of you that survived everything that taught you closeness was dangerous and still refused to stop wanting it. You are not broken. You are someone who learned to protect themselves in a world that required it. And protection that once kept you safe is now keeping you lonely. That is not a life sentence. That is a pattern. And patterns with enough awareness and enough willingness to sit in discomfort instead of running from it can change. The door does not have to keep closing. You are allowed to stay. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you wish people understood about why you pull away. I read every single one.